Happy Halloween! In honor of spooky season, I want to talk about one of the greatest horrors of the modern age, contemporary capitalism, and specifically the ghosts that haunted after the death of ideological alternatives. And we can perhaps understand this by analysing the greatest ghost story of all time, Hamlet.
This is the tragedy of a man who could not make up his mind.
Hamlet is the story of the titular Danish prince who, after being visited by the ghost of his recently deceased father, learns the king was victim to a murder by Uncle Claudius, who has now illegitimately seized the throne and married Hamlet's mother. The encounter with the ghost provokes within Hamlet an inner conflict, as he struggles to bring himself to avenge his late father, and instead finds himself in a state of existential nausea.
To be or not to be, that is the question.
And although Hamlet's crisis is one which pertains to him uniquely, the prince's fate is also intertwined with the prospective political future of Denmark. As Shakespeare writes,
"His greatness weighed, his will is not his own. He may not, as unvalued persons do, carve for himself. For on his choice depends the safety and the health of this whole state."
And so reading Hamlet as a personification of a political crisis, we can see a lot of parallels between his ghost-inspired inertia and our crisis of a post-Soviet leftism. In 1993, the post-structuralist philosopher Jacques Derrida wrote a book titled Specter of Marx, in which he popularized the term hauntology, a sort of play on words of ontology, the philosophical school which pertains to the study of existence and being. So if ontology is the study of what exists, hauntology then is the study of what is absent, or rather, what is present by virtue of the fact that it is absent.
Like a ghost.
Derrida applies this hauntological model in response to the collapse of the Berlin Wall and the dissolution of the Soviet Union, writing that Marxism was not, as many in the West proclaimed, void altogether, but its death conjures a sort of absence of a Marxian theory of economics, which casts a shadow over the future of politics, a ghost whose non-presence is precisely what makes it present.
Alas, poor Yorick.
There are many implications of these hauntological politics which Derrida elaborates on, but one I want to highlight in respect to Hamlet is the sort of existential crisis that Marx's ghost provokes in the modern left. It's been widely noted that the great tragedy of the modern left is our inability to imagine a future beyond capitalism. Even among fringe populist wings, they still rely on a backbone of a free market. But this was not always the case, but it's symptomatic of the dissolution of the Soviet Union, the absence of which establishes a widespread consensus that Marxism is a dead ideology. And though some argue for a return to time immemorial, this seeks to dig up the dead body of Marx without his spirit of a dialectical new politics. So we can't resurrect the form of Marxism, but we also can't imagine a future without it. Thus we find ourselves stuck in a state of paralysis, a dead past and a lost future.
This is the great failure of the left today. Even when capitalism obviously is more and more in some kind of a crisis. Okay, then there was a crisis, and what happened? Nothing. The left was not able to offer a minimal serious proposal.
And isn't this the exact same crisis poor Hamlet found himself in? After the visitation of the ghost of his father, who directs him on his political quest, is paralysed into a state of existential inaction. So too the left today are haunted by our spectre of a dead Marxism. The absence of a new politics provokes the left into a state of inertia. Thus the modern left, haunted by the ghost of Marx and unable to progress, finds itself like Prince Hamlet, in a time out of joint.
The time is out of joint.